This, I think, shall be interesting. Are we ready, chaps? Yeah. So we. Okay, Tyson. Well, you get dinner started. So yeah, the rest of the videos tonight are basically all our favorite content creators that were in Tiny Guns 3. So he's gonna be good. Let's check out.
I'll get him next time.
Get out there fishing, Rob.
That damn crowd pops his head out. This is gonna pop him. There's no way Hitler's made a device for the STG44 that bends it at 30 degrees so we can fire around an obstacle that will last approximately 300 rounds.
Say hello to Coca-Cola.
Hitler, no. Man, if only I didn't have to expose myself when I fired this STG44.
It had to be done. It had to be done.
Assault rifle. If only Nazi Germany had come up with some crazy, insane, come on in, Charles, some crazy, insane method of firing around an obstacle without, why do you have to make it? So right here, we have a krummlauf device. This is, without a doubt,
Nothing wrong? Oh. Yeah. Milo.
doubt probably one of the most bizarre implements that I've ever seen designed in a war. This is actually an attachment that attaches to an STG44 and curves 30 to 45 degrees, so kind of like you, Micah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you get me. Why do I have the feeling I'm going to be doing this a lot during this episode? Oh my.
will allow you to shoot around some type of barricade. We have a mirror that has its own sights that line up at the front sight on here. And in theory, this is a good idea. Now, what I need you guys to understand, and we have to give a big thank you to PS.
Why bonk me? What did I do? They're the ones that made they're the ones that were phrasing, not me. I'm just reacting to the phrasing. What did I do? I'm just a sweet, innocent anime cat girl. This sweet little old me.
On the krummlauf bent barrel, aka the Micah barrel.
It's so hard not to just flag people.
But before we get into that, we of course have to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel is who?
Nami, my question is how accurate is this going to be? Because thinking damn it, stop moving it around.
Dumb inbreeder.
Thinking logically, the bend in this rifle, in this barrel extension, feels like it would affect not only the trajectory, but the speed. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I'm really curious to see how well it does. Possibly. Like, number one, I'm curious to see how accurate it is up to what distance, and how much the speed is going to be impacted by going around a curvature of a barrel like this.
Yeah,
Wait, so this is gonna take a special type of ammunition? Hang on. Really? This fucking street. Someone decided to go 7,000 RPMs in first gear up my street just now. Hope they blow their engine out. Okay, so this took specialized ammo. Interesting.
The first thing that we're going to test is something that the U.S. Army noted after they captured these weapons and tested them at the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which was that due to the intense curvature of the barrel, the bullet would apparently break apart. What this meant was that the bullet came out in several fragments when it would impact the target. We're going to be testing this on gel to start. The round is also traveling slower as it exits. We're going to be testing the overall performance of the 7.92 Kurs as it goes through gel. And we'll see how accurate this is as well. Okay, honestly, this thing is actually so hard to aim. So I'm at kind of a weird angle right here, so we're just gonna do our best. Okay. Oh boy. Jesus.
Yeah, that's gotta be tough.
Dude, it shot way to the left.
Yeah. Yeah, did you see that? No, but you still hit it. You still hit it.
We did get an impact. It was just like, do you see it? It like just kind of skimmed the side. That is definitely off. That shot.
Just a flesh wound.
I felt good. I think if I aimed to the right, I could get it. So we're at 14 shots left. Do we try it one more time?
A little closer?
Yeah. All right, Micah, good?
Yep. There we go.
That was good.
Oh, baby.
I could see it from that angle, but he hit that dead center. Impressive. That was impressive.
You know what? That actually, I don't think that broke apart.
No, it didn't look like it.
I think that came out as a single slug. It did.
No, that's intact.
Is the U.S. Army, were they just so scared of Hitler's secret weapon that they said that it was bad? And the performance is actually, how would you characterize the performance, Charles?
I would put it this way. It may not have won the war, but today they won our hearts.
Are we allowed to say that?
As far as I know, this is the first footage I know of the krummlauf being fired outside of Army training videos in like 1946. So the fact that we're firing this right now is incredible, because I do want to be very clear. These rounds traveling through this bent barrel.
It's for you guys, though, with that joke.
Barrel is incredibly stressful on the barrel. These do not last a long time. 300 rounds is the most I've ever heard of them lasting, but probably a lot less. Now, a couple interesting factors before we get into a few more tests here. You'll notice that there are these ports drilled into both sides right here. This is for two reasons. One, it was for one reason. That was to
Alistair? But yeah, Albert, that's what they're saying. It's like you can only fire like 300 rounds through it before the barrel was done. My guess is it probably, I'm guessing every time it fires, it's like damaging the interior of the barrel. And I don't know, maybe there would be some kind of like internal like nick that would prevent the round from going straight, from passing cleanly through the barrel, and could maybe shear the round as it's traveling through the barrel if it's damaged or something. I don't know.
to relieve a lot of the pressure. As that round begins to curve, that pressure behind the slug is just enormous. And if you notice, we have this big triangular thing right here. The reason for that was as those gases were venting, they were actually venting right into the mirror right there, and it was obscuring it. So they added this to make sure that it was venting those gases off to the side. Now, if you come up right here, Micah, and take a look, you can see we have that rear sight right there built into the mirror. And then that corresponds directly to our front sight right here on the bent barrel. And this is actually a very simple system to take on and off. It simply indexes off the front sight and it screws right into place. There is a gap between the rifling of the STG and the rifling of that barrel that apparently didn't matter too much. But here's what we're going to test here. How accurate is this gun? How effective is it? So we're going to start at about 10 yards and we're going to continually walk this gun back and we're going to see at what point we can no longer impact a target. I believe that it's shooting a little bit to the left. I'm going to aim right, but it seems to be center otherwise, and this is the first test ever of this bent barrel, so let's
That'd be
get
interesting.
All right, we're going to go ahead, we're going to fire this, and at the same time, we're also going to chrono it to see how fast it's going. Charles, you ready? Okay.
Okay.
That actually looks fine. I don't see any signs of tumbling. That looks
What was the chrono?
2374.
That's actually cooking.
Let's chrono the regular STG right after and check that. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
see
very-
any
I'm
signs
really
of
curious.
tumbling or the round breaking apart at all.
Yeah, no, it's clean.
Not what I expected, to be honest.
Okay, bent barrel got 2374. It was said that these barrels would decrease velocity. Let's see how it compares to the normal STG and see if we have any difference in velocity
Okay.
between them. It's going slower.
That is so weird.
It's going
No.
maybe it's the barrel length?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I wouldn't think that Yeah, it's going slower, but I wouldn't think the seal from the attachment to the barrel would even be that good, let alone the gas venting.
We have now stepped the target back to 20 yards.
Wow.
And
So the round is traveling faster with the attachment? That is interesting. Oh, so Alex, you think that it depends upon the severity of the bend. So you're thinking that the bend on this one is not that severe, thus the rounds are able to maintain better. Okay. Hi, Einhinder.
we'll see how we're doing. 1 sec, let me get on target. Charles, you ready? Yep. Oh.
It's going almost 100 FPS faster.
Dude, everything I've heard about this rifle so far is not true. I heard that it broke apart the bullets. I heard that the round was slower. The round looks like it's starting to hit, not completely stabilized at this point.
Yeah.
So it
it's
looks like
not
there's
straight.
a little bit of not straight.
It's a little
It'll make a
sus.
lot
little
of.
sus. So I was aiming right here and I took the shot. This does not seem to be the most accurate gun. So I think we'll set up like 2 targets on either side just to make sure that we're catching the rounds since we can fire so few rounds. But we're at 20. Let's go ahead and let's step it back to 30 and let's see what we get on paper. We're now at 30 yards to the target. Let's go ahead and see what we're gonna get.
Eh. Oh, it hit.
Did it miss?
I don't know. Hold on, let me check. I think it missed.
Oh, high.
High.
So high.
Hi, yeah.
It does not appear that this weapon is particularly accurate.
So like 25.
About
Yeah.
25 yards. So we'll definitely say that at urban distances, that it seems to be pretty good. But I haven't seen any evidence that the round is breaking apart so far, or that it's going any slower. Do you like meat? Well, do you
Yeah.
like your meat to have flavor? Well, then do we have a product for you? We have Firecracker Farms, proudly sponsoring today's video. Now, if you like it hot, Firecracker Farms hot salt might be about the tastiest salt you'll ever have.
I'm gonna say that's a pretty interesting methodology of putting spice. That little device you just had. That was actually pretty cool.
Now, the best part about it is it comes in these really cool stainless steel pushers, and you can do about 3 cracks of them, and you're gonna get a really, really tasty meal. Now,
That's
it is
pretty neat.
made with some pretty hot peppers, but you know what? If you're not too white, it's gonna be absolutely perfect for you. The hot salt is made with Scorpion, Ghost, and Carolina Reaper. The absolute perfect amount of heat. Now know this, Firecracker Farms is a small operation, just Alex and his family going all in on a product. And to be clear, they are donating 10% of all proceeds to the OP300, which helps Gold Star families and their children, and also to the Pipe Hitters Foundation. So we have a great company making a cool product that tastes delicious and donating to some good causes. We can't thank them enough for sponsoring this video. Go check them out. Checkout code GT will get you 15% off. Go check out Firecracker Farms, guys. What we're going to be talking about right here is going to be recoil. So the recoil on this weapon is really really interesting because this is very heavy. It's a very unwieldy weapon to hold and to
Yeah, it does. I was gonna say.
just bring around with you. And so the recoil wants to go straight back into you. However, the barrel, when the round exits, has a tendency to want to go up. So because of the angle that you're firing this, whether you're going to be kneeling or otherwise, it's very odd how it's kind of going back into you. This would definitely suck to carry with you. But again, this is actually fairly easy to take off, which we'll show in just a moment here. But to demonstrate recoil, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fire, and we'll try to hit steel right here at about 20, which is outer limit of this guy right here. Where was that? Dude, that round is it is inaccurate, brother. It ain't going where you want it to go, that's for sure. But you can see that recoil. You see how it wants to raise up on you, Micah?
Yeah, that was weird.
You got to take one shot with it to try it out.
All right, let me hit it.
It is a priceless weapon.
All right.
Like, look through it. It's so weird.
Wait, this is not what I expected. It's not perfectly straight.
You're
either.
aiming at the ground right now.
Oh, all right, ready?
Yep.
I don't. It's hard to put into words, like, because it's not unlike any other gun. It's like it tilts on an axis on your shoulder.
It's not good. So we're gonna give you the shooter's look through this guy. So to be clear,
Okay.
what you're looking through is that rear sight right up here and the front sight there. The traditional sights on the STG44 are not used when utilizing the mirror. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that on the target. Okay.
A little, just a flies here.
Uh,
A little less. Okay. Oh, to the right. Okay, pull the trigger.
this. Off left.
I mean, yeah, we got it, but we didn't hit it.
I think it needs to be pointed out, like, how difficult it is to look through that. And this is a fairly new example in the terms of not having been shot much. And this is still a fairly inaccurate weapon. Now, these didn't really see much service, and you can kind of see why. Because it's kind of a fool's errand to try to curve a bullet and be effective. Like, this is not something I would have on a rifle because it's just like you take a few shots.
I mean, this is not Wanted. You know, this isn't a movie Wanted where you can curve the bullet by throwing the gun, basically. You'd be asking a German soldier to carry around this module on his belt or in a pack, which, according to Grant Thumb, is heavy. So you're adding extra weight for a modular accessory that sucks. So it's no big surprise that it would yeah, the soldier will probably drop at first chance, go, oh, I lost it. Ooh. Because it was probably useless in combat, because combat is such a frenetic time. You're not going to be wasting time pulling this device out, strapping it onto the muzzle of your weapon, and then trying to use it when its usability is severely limited and awkward as fuck. And by the time you get this thing strapped on and you're ready to go, either you're already dead or the fight's over. So, yeah, I would say, Mad Dog, you're probably right. Most German soldiers probably dropped this and went, oh, I'm so sorry, I lost it at the first opportunity they had.
Shots, be like, this sucks, dude. Like, I'm just gonna, boop, peek my head out instead.
Okay.
As you can see, like, shooting this is just, it's looking through that and taking the shot. Can you imagine using this in like a fast-paced combat environment where people are moving, there's explosions and gunshots, you're being shot at, and you're like sitting there looking through this tiny mirror, you're like, I'm gonna get you, you damn Americans.
You get to see like a 5x5 of the battlefield.
It just isn't it. Like, I understand you want to try to shoot from a concealed position if at all possible, but this was a little bit too fairy tale when it came to this particular weapon.
Yep.
But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple really interesting little features on this guy that make this so bizarre. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and show you how to take this guy off. It's actually quite simple. So we have this screw that's putting tension, and it's a clamp. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen that up. And then once that's loosened up enough, you can simply take that off and pull it off again right there. And as you can see right here, we have this little slot right here for the front sight post. That's where the barrel sits in. And if you look into there, you'll see that it's slightly overboard compared to the normal rifling. There's actually a jump in rifling from the round exiting from this barrel right here before that slug then encounters the rifling of the bent barrel right here. What's the most interesting about that is in testing with the Germans, they found that they were trying to like line up the rifling to make sure it was like spinning at the same rate, and they realized it just didn't matter. Just whatever the rifling was, when it re-engaged, it was totally fine. Now, a couple things that we definitely noticed were that
Volt, it's entirely possible that maybe this module never really made it outside of the planning stages or the prototype stages, or basically like alpha stage. They may have had like a stockpile of these that never got deployed out to their soldiers because in the end they decided this ain't it. And they just decided to never push forward with it because through their testing, they came to realize that its effectiveness is pretty much useless. Maybe that's why.
this entire barrel is rifled, but that didn't really seem to do anything for accuracy. The round was definitely destabilized, and due to the length of the slug, which we can show you right here, as that round is traveling down that barrel, it still is deforming as it passes that 30-degree curve right there. And because of that, as it exits, I believe that's what constitutes a lot of the inaccuracy that is being done to this particular system. I don't really think there's a way around that. A smaller, shorter bullet perhaps, but I think it's going to happen no matter what. Now, there was another version, well, several different versions. There's a 45-degree and a 90-degree, the 90-degree being made for tanks, but those shot out extremely quickly and were not very effective, although they were certainly made. Now, like we talked about before, there's a lot of pressures that have to be vented off of this. But one thing I want to talk about is this mirror system right here for sighting. I can only imagine carrying this through like Stalingrad or the Battle of Berlin with mud and dust and debris getting kicked up and getting into this, because you can see there are multiple planes on this mirror right here and on the front, and they're quite large. Like compared to an optic where you can at least keep those somewhat protected and recessed, this giant mirror right here is fairly open to the elements, and I think would definitely present a problem in any type of combat environment. You can see on our screws right here that they do have wire. That's to prevent those screws from backing out during intensive firing and stuff. And then we have the clamping mechanism. It
seals surprisingly well.
It seals surprisingly well. I didn't notice any amount of gas venting in this clamped portion right here. It seemed to all vent at those holes right there and work as intended. It didn't feel any different. I'm going to say this cautiously.
That does kind of make sense to me, where he said that there wasn't any gas venting issues, because, the gas is getting pushed forward, and not only is it going down the barrel, with the placement of those vents on the module, he said it was above and below. I can kind of see where that would be sufficient to handle your venting issue, where you would not have any issues in terms of the gas, causing a problem. Maybe, I don't know if they're referring to like spillback or anything like that. The barrel seemed to fit pretty well into the module. And they said that it was overboard. So that actually does make a lot of sense why we wouldn't have the issues, especially with their placement of the vents. It's essentially replacing the vents on that module. We're essentially replacing the normal vents on a muzzle brake. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, honestly. It from a logically viewed standpoint, it seems like it would make sense. And yeah, Volt, you're right. The Germans really did push the limits of the weapons and that's what happens because the German army at that time they had to get creative. They did not have the level of rear support like the U.S. did. They didn't have the resources that the U.S. did, which is how the U.S. fundamentally won World War II. Is the U.S. had buttloads of resources, the Germans did not. So it was probably more of a supply issue versus anything that allowed America to win the war in it. But because of that, the Germans had to get creative. And we see the results of just one result of that with this mod.
So it didn't feel any different from the traditional STG44 in terms of the overall recoil impulse. The only thing that felt different was the angle, because you're angling it up and you have so much weight out front. That was the only thing that felt really odd about this particular device. But I definitely feel very... Is the word privileged? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is privileged not a good word to use? I feel privileged that we were able to shoot this. As far as I know,
appropriate word, I think.
Probably one of the few people to have actually shot these because they are so rare. So we really hope that you guys have enjoyed watching us shoot this. We definitely, I believe, found kind of the limit of accuracy. Even with modern rounds and modern slugs, we weren't really getting past 25. And I don't believe that's a fluke. I don't believe that's because we couldn't aim or shoot. I do believe that is an accuracy limitation. That's probably why, well, among several reasons, that these weren't really issued in combat, because of general problems with accuracy, and also it's unwieldy.
Even if I had...
Well, Eki, no, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, Germans are, I would think, amongst the brightest. However, we are not talking about scientists or engineers of high caliber. It's more, we're referring to the caliber of intelligence level of the Nazi party. That subset of people were not the brightest. I consider Germans, like, I mean, for fuck's sake, Albert Einstein was German, and he is one of the greatest scientific minds of all time. So, 100%, I don't believe that. I believe Germans are very smart. Very.
That I wouldn't use it.
Exactly. So you really didn't see these use the STG44 by itself.
Hi, Shamson. Well, unfortunately, you missed Tiny Wars, or Tiny Guns 3. And that's not going on YouTube, but you can watch it on the VOD.
Very effective, very good weapon. Having this, this is kind of like not Nazi fairy tale land right here. Just not a really great way of handling things. But kind of
Nazis kind of have a history of not having a great way of handling situations. Yeah.
But overall, this is a very simple device, but not a very good device. But it was a piece of history. It was a device, and it was a piece of history, and definitely a useless add-on. A lot of wasted time and materials when it comes to the general war efforts.
Well, and don't worry, the A10 video I will put on YouTube, so you'll be able to see that one there.
But I'm glad that we could test it. I would say we definitely disproved a lot of the myths that surround this particular device. I know in the old Army videos they said that it both slowed down the slug and that it broke the slug apart. Maybe this could have been true for the older bullets that the Germans were making. I'm just inclined to believe that this was much like a lot of the early American propaganda where they'd have like an MG42. They'd be like, yeah, its bark is worse than its bite. Actually, the bark was about as probably not nearly as worse as the bite, because it was an incredibly accurate, effective weapon. So we have the krummlauf device firing from the STG44. Probably not the most exciting video, but probably one of the most interesting videos in the fact that we found out that it fired faster, that it didn't break apart the bullets, and that it was pretty damn ineffective. So we hope you guys really enjoyed this particular video, and we have tons more cool things coming, so make sure you stay tuned. And that's all we have for you today.
God damn it. They would have to throw something like that right at the end, wouldn't they? Still very interesting video. Very interesting video. For nothing else, like an interesting piece of World War II history.